Hey everybody, Luke Gordon here, and today I want to make a video showing you how to set up your workstation at home. I think during COVID, now more than ever, a lot of people who used to work in an office setting are now working in a home setting, myself included. And unfortunately, you may have had a nice setup in your office, especially if your workplace is a little more ergonomic friendly. And then when you come home, you realize you don't have nearly as good of a setup, and then you end up experiencing things like that tension and pain in the base of your skull and your headaches. Can cause headaches, and then like all that tension through your shoulders and neck. So that's what I tend to get, what a lot of office workers will get. And then certainly if you're dealing with like long-standing issues with your hips or your back, sciatic pain, going to not as nice of a setup at home can definitely contribute to that. So I'm going to go through basically 5 different points that you can look at to improve your home setup. And again, keeping in mind that it should help you minimize the pain in your neck and your shoulders, those headaches, and potentially the pain in your back too. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. As we go along too, I'm going to show you with a laptop versus a desktop. So it kind of depends on what kind of equipment you're using at home. I tend to work on my laptop, but then I have a desktop as well. So like I said, I'll just kind of explain the differences as we go. But the first thing you want to do for your home workstation, if you're working on a computer a lot, is you want to make sure you have a decent chair. So that's number one, is your chair. For me, I'm not a real big guy, so I can kind of get away with a fairly inexpensive chair, which I just got on Amazon. So I'll just get like a real small chair with a decent cushion and a decent back support, but I won't get anything too fancy. Now, if you have a little bit bigger of a structure, or you have some issues, you might want to invest in a little bit nicer of a chair. But for the most part, the biggest thing with the chair is you want a chair that fits you. When I say it fits you, meaning that you can sit all the way back in the chair, so it's not too deep on like the seat pan here where it's pushing you to the edge of the chair, and that you can scoot all the way back and have some kind of a back support. Because ultimately, I want to try to do my work from this position. So I want to be able to sit in the chair comfortably. It's got a decent cushion. Again, if you're a little bit bigger than I am, you might want a thicker, nicer cushion than I got. But you just want some kind of a cushion, and you can sit comfortably like this. Essentially, if you look at my posture, my thighs should be horizontal, to the ground. I should be able to have my feet flat on the ground, scoot my butt, my hips all the way back into the chair so I can kind of lock my pelvis in, and that'll keep me in a nice upright posture. And believe it or not, that's going to have a huge effect on my neck and in that tension in my shoulders. It's not the whole solution to that, but this is definitely the place you want to start. So that's number one. Get yourself a decent chair. It should go up and down, just with basic adjustments. So mine will go up and down. Mine is almost too short for me actually, but the average chair will go up and down to fit your body size. So start with your chair. Make sure you get a decent chair. Again, you probably have one at work, and maybe they don't let you take it home. But otherwise, invest $80 to $100 in a chair at home. So that's number one. Once you have your chair set up, you really want to then turn your focus to, okay, now you're at your workstation. How can you stay in this ideal posture as you move towards your workstation? So the next thing I think you should look at is just your keyboard and mouse height. Now for me, again, being at home, I've just got this old kind of oak desk that my wife and I have had forever. So it's not ideal, but it works roughly for me, because with your keyboard height, you want to basically be able to keep your forearms, again, horizontal, just like your thighs, so you can relax into your shoulders and your neck and still do your work. So for me, again, I'm going to scoot close to my keyboard as I work, and it's not perfect. Again, it should probably be about an inch or two down, but I can't really adjust that with my desktop surface. So if you can adjust it though, if you're sitting up tall and your desk is low, bring your keyboard up a little bit. I think you can get creative at home, put a book underneath it, or I'll use like a ream of paper as one of my supplies to raise and lower things, which I'll get to with the monitor here in a minute as well. But just make sure it's at a decent height. If your desktop surface was real tall and you just had a basic desk that didn't have drawers underneath it, you could theoretically mount a keyboard tray underneath that and drop it down so it's the appropriate height. So that's one solution. Or if the desktop is pretty high, you could elevate your seat if your seat will go that high on your chair. So that goes back to your chair again. So that's number two though. Just check your keyboard monitor height, and make sure that you can keep your shoulders relaxed and you can stay sitting in the back of your chair, so scooch forward. So that's number two. Number three, and this is something to consider at home, is you can tell here that I've got like a high-low desk. Now this one, I'll put a link to this specific one that I got below the video notes here. This is a very basic one. It's one of the smaller models, which works for me because I'm in kind of a smaller area. But I would definitely consider investing in one of these. And again, maybe you have one at work that you can just bring home, because now you're going to be able to go from sitting to standing. So I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. But with the high-low desk, this is going to affect what you do with your monitors as well. So again, you can see I've got my laptop sitting here. My desktop is behind me. With a high-low setup like this, I don't have to use any real equipment for a desktop to get the monitor height where I want it, which is basically the top of the monitor should be eye level. But with my laptop, you'll notice that the screen is still way too low. So when the screen is low like this, I'm going to be looking down. Now, after looking down for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, I get a lot of tension in the base of my skull, and then it kind of comes down my shoulders. So this is not good enough from my perspective. So what I do then with a high-low desk is, with my laptop monitor, is I just use a ream of paper and I raise it up 2 or 3 inches. And that's about good for me. So now it's roughly eye level here. It's much better than it was. So you can get creative. Again, you can use some old books, telephone books, reams of paper. I actually end up using yoga blocks a bit too. Because if we look at my high-low station, I'm going to go up now. So I just squeeze the side. So when I stand, my desktop, again, is pretty much right where I want it. My keyboard height came with me, which is great. This is one of the biggest reasons to have a high-low desk, is the keyboard and the mouse come with you, so you can have a nice upright posture. But you'll notice now that one ream of paper for my laptop, I'm still way too low. And again, that really will bother my neck after a while. So all I do is use a yoga block, and I just stack things up. So again, it may not look that pretty, but it gets the job done. And now I can comfortably work, standing for 20, 30 minutes at a time. And you can go longer if you want to. The other thing that I like, so that's number 4 on my list of 5, is just use these stackable items in order to achieve the right height for your computer monitor. Again, desktop versus laptop, a little bit different. So that was number 4. So again, get creative with what you use. I think the yoga blocks and the reams of paper work really well. And the last thing then that you're going to want to adjust potentially is if you're standing, what you'll notice is just standing flat-footed, it's comfortable for a while, but eventually, especially if you have a little bit of back pain, it'll start to really compress down here. So I would recommend getting another stack of books or another yoga block and putting it on the ground and using that as a step to put one of your feet on. So when you put one of your feet on, or you can use a crate or something like that, whatever you have, but when you put your foot on a block like that, it's going to take a lot of pressure off your back, because essentially it allows your pelvis to roll backwards a little bit into more of a neutral position. So that's going to really alleviate some of that pressure on your lower back, which I don't have low back pain per se, I don't get it on a daily basis or anything, but if I stand at my computer for an hour or two, I'll start to notice that compression. And if you've got any degenerative type changes, a little bit of arthritis in your back, or you've had some degenerative disc disease or degenerative joint disease, you're going to feel gravity kind of weighing you down after a while, especially if you plan on standing for more than 30 minutes at a time. So again, get creative with those blocks. So that's number 5, is use those blocks for your feet too, to help support your lower back. So hopefully between those 5 things, you can figure out a good home setup. And I really think it's important, as a lot of us are transitioning from an office setting to a home setting. You're not going to necessarily have the ideal equipment that you had at the office. So be proactive, research some stuff, look for products online, or if your work will help you with that. Like I said, maybe you can take a nice desk chair home from work. You might be the only one asking, so maybe they'll say yes. Or if you had a high-low workstation at work, maybe they'll let you bring it home. And then otherwise, feel free to get creative with fairly inexpensive solutions there. So those are the 5 things. Again, start with your chair, work your way towards your desk with your keyboard and your monitors, consider a high-low, and then get creative with these stackable things to make sure that you can work in a comfortable position. If you're able to do that, it should relieve a lot of pressure through your neck and your shoulders. And like I mentioned earlier, if you have an existing low back injury or sciatica issue, it should help quite a bit. So hopefully that helps you clarify things. Please like the video, leave me a comment below if you found it valuable, or certainly if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best I can. I'll put a link to this high-low that I like in the video comments or the video description, I mean. And again, thanks for watching, and leave me any questions or comments below. That's it for today.